What's up, y'all? You know what time it is? It's about to be that time.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
$38, $39, $40 quarters. This better be good.
Game over. Please deposit 40 quarters.
What a wreck!
Savage.
And we're back. One Piece 1113 is out. The message has begun, and with it, a slew of W's for theories on this channel. We've been Team Flood out here for a very, very long time, going back to the forum days. But my video after 1089 came out was entirely focused on talking about that subject because we got to see the aftermath of Lelucia and the information that the world's water was rising 1 meter. Now that we know we're in the right direction, let's review those thoughts and expand upon them with all of the new information, including why Enies lobby is the key to everything. But first, like, comment, subscribe if you're feeling the vibe. One Piece is full of allegories to other works and real-life events. What we are seeing here is a combined look at the Bible and something Japanese works often infuse into their stories, the bombings during World War II. Kuma carries a Bible, the book Eva had said Genesis on it, and the fishmen have an ark named Noah. This saga started with the closest thing we've seen to a nuke go off in this story, and one of the lead characters is an Einstein clone, somebody who had a relationship with Oppenheimer in real life. The lead of the Manhattan Project, which gave us the atomic bomb, later used to attack Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan. An often discussed question is, who was most at fault? Japan for China's Nanjing massacre and bombing Pearl Harbor, or the US for escalating to the point of atomic warfare? And I won't go much further into the details of World War II, but rather use that as a jumping point to what Vegapunk is referring to when he says that he will not judge the parties involved with the information that he is relaying. As a scientist, not only does he have to remain impartial, but he also understands that information is powerful. As it changes throughout the years, decades, and centuries, it molds and conforms to the will of the person giving the information. The past will always be a game of telephone, as one person's account of something will differ from another. One person's view of an involved party might be favorable, another person's account unfavorable. Some parties might have most or all of the information, while other parties only have a rough image with certain events redacted. It's possible that what happened centuries ago was done with the intent of protecting people, and after 8 or 9 centuries, the idea of what was acceptable at that time has changed. And now, the good guys are seen as bad guys. The policies that the older generation think work for everyone only work for a select few, or worked in a different time, not reflecting the current world or the younger generation. As One Piece fans, most of us are critical thinkers, and everything I just said was vague enough to allow you to picture and draw your own conclusions as to what that means to you. But Oda likes to muddy the waters on right and wrong, and it is such a valid writing technique, because not every hero thinks of themselves as a hero, but most villains do. The world is going to sink, but what's to say it hasn't already done so? Look at Old Wano. Bunch of islands with different climates were stitched together and uprooted above the old Wano, likely to avoid this issue. Continent puller ores may have had something to do with that. The Holy Land is so far above water, it would never have to worry about any of this. We see Crocus chilling, listening to all of this information from Vegapunk. Why? Because he already knows what this man's going to say. He was there at Laugh Tale. He knows the truth. He's been living in a whale. He's above sea level. Rayleigh got into ship coding because he knew people were going to need to know how to survive underwater. Iceberg is turning Water 7 into a floating island because Big Berg sees the writing on the wall. Whoever turned Thriller Bark into a ship as well might have been onto something. One of the wealthiest fools in the series is Wapple. He was a tyrant king affiliated with the world government and had a submersible ship. Could that have been a clue that his ancestors were warned to be prepared for this event, a way to protect the one percenters of the world, like a fallout shelter of some kind. Speaking of submarines, sucks to be Law. He was so ready. So ready. Let me tell you my theory. Because the Mother Flame was used on Enies Lobby and is responsible for all of the weird weather events in One Piece, the closer in proximity a landmass is to the Judicial Island, the more affected it is by wacky weather. Water 7 is next to Enies Lobby, so just like when an island is hit by a massive earthquake, a tsunami tends to follow, hence the Aqualagana. The water that was shot underneath Enies Lobby and now Lelucia needs to go somewhere, so it bubbles up and becomes the knock-up stream outside of Jaya. The level of water that has risen from all of this is why citizens of Long Ring Longland constantly have to migrate to another part of the island every few years, as the rest of it rotates being submerged. The Florian Triangle is near Enies Lobby and is a shroud of pressurized fog that ships get lost inside. Going a little further out, even the Sandora River in Alabasta is affected by this, as the sea keeps creeping into the river and drying the crops leading to the drought. We have seen nothing but wacky climate in One Piece since entering the Grand Line, and all of it is the Mother Flame's fault. Even the reverse mountains current and the lack of wind in the calm belt, it all must be connected, and I do believe that what happened to Jaya and the Shandians was not an accident, but rather an act of the Mother Flame in some fashion after the King of Livneal asked for permission at Marijois to explore the City of Gold in the Grand Line. They only granted his request after it was in the sky. Was Impel Down at one point on the surface? If the world has already been flooded once before, as evident by Old Wano, and the Mother Flame likely being used on Enies Lobby, then it's possible that the old world sank and the underwater prison Impel Down wasn't always underwater. All of the layers of the prison look like Lego pieces, stacked one on top of the other until it reaches the small entrance at the top. In the chapter stream, 00Flevens asked, could each level symbolize how many great cleansings the world has actually had? And if the Mother Flame was used on Enies Lobby, causing all of the meteorological events in the Grand Line, like the Aqualagana, knock-up streams, the Florian Fog, it stands to reason that Impel Down, which is located in the Judicial Triangle along with Marineford, would be one of the most affected areas. What is the Mother Flame? In my opinion, highly pressurized water shooting down from the sky. This is a mirror to the knock-up stream, highly pressurized water shooting up from the sea, and they both leave a crater in the water. One is permanent, one isn't. The sky turns dark in both cases, so they are mirrors of each other, and I think that the government put a ban on dance powder because of this. Dance powder, if you remember from Alabasta, was a powder that steals the rain from neighboring clouds, meaning one area gets a lot of rain, and then everywhere else it starts to just become a drought. And if, say, Emu wanted to use Mother Flame on a particular area that was nearby to somewhere that used dance powder, if it is the clouds being squeezed for all of this pressurized water, if there's nothing to grab inside of the clouds, then I think the Mother Flame would be completely ineffective. And that would explain why the government would put a ban on something like that. And a lot of people have theorized that Emu could potentially have the water fruit, and maybe what we're seeing here isn't actually Uranus or an ancient weapon at all, but is some sort of a device to amplify Emu's water powers, perhaps? You know, I don't know if I'm completely sold on Emu has the water fruit, even if their name backwards is water in Japanese. Since the Gorosei are literal yokai and it doesn't seem like they have fruits, I'm actually more inclined to think that Emu could be water incarnate or some sort of water yokai. So with that being said, dance powder could be a way to combat the Mother Flame, in a way. It's like a really dirty way of going about it, but it's going back to that idea of muddying things. Hey, this is going to ruin the landscape of such and such, but if we use it, we can save a bunch of people also, even though we're going to hurt the environment. we're getting a little tinfoil here, but I think that there's a connection between all of this. Like, imagine a scenario where we're about to fight Emu, and Nami or someone from the crew lets off a bunch of dance powder just outside of Marijois, and then all of the clouds leave the Holy Land, and Emu is unable to access the full potential of their powers, which gives Luffy like kind of a handicap in their battle. With Vegapunk being the smartest man in the world, does he have a plan to combat the Mother Flame? We had blueprints for the Pluton, which I still feel is implied that they were a deterrent for the Pluton, something to combat the device. So if Vegapunk, is helping to create the Mother Flame, is he able to create an anti-Mother Flame? Something that could lower the water, fix the world, absorb the water? Now for the chapter-specific section of the video. Last week, we doubled down on our Frankie's body gets destroyed and he sinks with the Sunny theory, only for the old man from Baltimore to tell us that Frankie is a ship now. Serendipity at its finest. We'll see how that idea continues to age. I also said Sanji would clash with Ethan Barron to scale Zoro's eventual opponent, which has happened. Just need Zoro to clash with Mars to set up Sanji's opponent. Zoro should be arriving soon to where Saturn is. Jinbei versus Saturn, Zoro versus Mars, maybe? Whoever Zoro fights will likely be Sanji's opponent later in the series, so a twist would be him never fighting Mars at all, implying Sanji fights Saturn, perhaps. But man, did I love the Robin stuff this chapter. I've been preaching the entire arc that I didn't want to leave here without the Gorosei pulling up on Robin. Now it is time for our girl to really give it to him, to really shine. But first, we got to see the weaklings of the crew hold it down and protect her, just as she said they would. You love to see it. Brooke even lopped a leg off. Shout out to my guy. Also, I have to shout out Bonnie. Her power is literally limitless. No one in her life has probably told her that she can't be a giant, so without that mental block imposed on her, she is able to, with her young age, believe that it is possible. If you can dream it or think it, you can do it. The narrator spoke the words of physicist Willie Gallen in chapter 218. Anything man can imagine is a possibility in reality. And Bonnie is living proof of that. Gear 5 is living proof of that. Vegapunk putting his brain in a jar is living proof of that. Could Willie have been a mentor for Vegapunk? Also, speaking of brain in a jar, that was the Occam's razor this week. It is such a popular trope in media that it has its own Wikipedia page. But Vegapunk told us at the beginning of this arc that his brain is still growing to this day, and he was not lying. Vegapunk is confirmed to be dead in body, but not in mind in this chapter. His brain is still operational, and we aren't entirely certain where his consciousness is at this present time. It'll be interesting to see where Oda lands on that. If Frankie doesn't sync with the ship, I still like the idea of Vegapunk becoming the ship computer of some sort, and I talked about that in a different video. A fun fact about the decks of the world in chapter 1113 is that the assortment of characters is not random. Almost everyone we see is a doctor of some kind. Kaya, doctor. Crocus, doctor. Torino Kingdom, island of doctors. Baltimore is a home of science and the birthplace of Vegapunk. Caesar's a doctor. And even Big News Morgan's a doctor. A spin doctor. Yeah. And speaking of winks, Duval is the outlier here. But it's fun to see him. If Oda keeps the doctor train going, he could end on Kureha revealing something interesting, considering how old she is. But Oda's definitely saving the top tier cameos for later in the message, and a lot of the cameos are being held probably because Oda doesn't want us to know where certain characters are yet, like Dr. Trafalgar Law. And to theorize where Law could be, he's either going to run into Sengoku, or he's going to end up at Empty Bluffs with the Cross Guild. They're collecting warlords, and it seems implied that Sengoku is interested in what's happening with the Cross Guild. So maybe it's both. Also, showing a bunch of randos at Hachinosu implies that Blackbeard and his crew are not there. And shout out to Kaya, who really carried the energy displayed in the live action this week. I really think Oda took cues from Celeste Lute's portrayal in this chapter, which made it even weirder and more awkward to see Mary. Moving forward into 1114, I very much need the Gorosei to do something that has lasting impact on the story. Killing a character, destroying a key item, something. Oimo and Kashi are pretty disposable, and they're with Ethan Barron now. I just need some additional effectiveness from them before the arc ends, which I still feel is sooner than we think. That's going to wrap things up, guys. Golden Week plus an Oda break means no One Piece for 2 weeks, but that doesn't mean no One Piece content for 2 weeks, because we'll have a theory for theory, and I'll also be releasing a mega theory on Luffy's lineage. It's already shot, and I'm excited to get that one out to you guys. Hopefully with enough engagement and everything, we can actually have that be our first theory that surpasses or even gets to 100,000 views. That's been a channel goal of mine, and I hope to get there. I want to thank everybody that has been upping the engagement. It really made a difference with the last video, even though it doesn't look like it. I can see where the video was going, and then everybody helping and, you know, pushing it and commenting and liking it actually allowed it to double in views. So we're still in algorithm jail, but we are slowly creeping out. And I want to thank everybody that, you know, was kind enough to help there. And big shout out to all of our members. I know some of you guys are reaching your 3-year anniversary, which is like insane. I feel like we need to throw a party of some sort. I don't even know what that would be. If you guys have an idea, you know, let's let's figure something out. Maybe this break could be the time for that. But just keep an eye out for more content. I'm excited for, you know, the streams and videos that are going to be coming out during this break. So like, comment, subscribe if you're feeling the vibe.
I've been swimming deep, deep. Savage.